Hey guys, it's Dina the Violin Doc, and today I'm back to talk with you about performance nerves. That is something that is incredibly common amongst performing musicians, public speakers, and the like. There are so many folks that deal with this, and so why not talk about it? Today I wanted to share with you one of the most powerful tricks that I have found over the course of my career as a musician, and also puts the control in your court instead of, kind of going like, okay, well, I'm not going to feel that way because I practiced really hard, or, I've done this so many times that like, I'm not going to let nerves get ahead of me. And, to be fair, that is part of it, is being well prepared, but this is going to take you a step further mentally. This is your mental game we're discussing. Okay. So, okay, when I am looking at a piece and I'm going to perform, I am I'm trying to mentally give myself at least one item per measure to focus upon. Because then guess what? My mental energy is focused on delivering what the composer has written on the page. And that might sound very common sense, very common knowledge, like, well, yeah, we're trying to do that. Like every teacher is going to sit there and tell you, like, are you doing the dynamics? Are you doing the articulation? There are going to be teachers, of course, we're supposed to talk about that, but are you really doing it? Are you really thinking about it? And, for some of us, we may not need like the heightened attention to detail. For example, let me give you one example. So going to one of the pieces that I was recently looking at again, in the first measure alone, the composer gives me a dynamic marking and a crescendo and a decrescendo swell like this, right? And in my head, and that's the first measure, by the way, so that's only one thing, and I already have like a couple things to think about just with the dynamics, right? But I also have things to think about in terms of how do I want my tone to speak? What kind of vibrato am I going to use? Where am I going to place my bow on the string for this to happen? And so take that and put it into your medium, whatever your instrument is, and go, okay, how am I going to prepare for the very first measure? Because let me tell you something, your first measure sets you up a lot of times for feeling more confident as you go along. So if you have a strong start, you are more likely to keep on going along that vein, right? And if you keep employing what I'm telling you to do, which is pick a detail in every single measure that you are really thinking about communicating, maybe it's just one thing. Maybe it's like, measure 2, first finger needs to be lower because you know your tendency, right? Like maybe you tend to play it too sharp. Measure 3 is, oh, I need to be at the tip to deliver this whole slur in the phrase, So take those things to heart. And then in doing that in your practice at home, wherever you are practicing your pieces, you are going to have that so ingrained in your mind that things that are not in your control are not going to bother you as much, okay? There are more parts to this, but this is a starting point for you. Really take that on board. Because, you cannot control what's going on in the audience. You cannot control the noise. You cannot control somebody coming in late or somebody coughing or somebody's phone going off. And we actually can't control what other people think about us either. And I think that's probably the biggest thing, but you can control how you want to deliver your performance by really putting that intention behind it, whatever you're playing on the stage or wherever it is that you're performing, and conveying the message most importantly of the composer whom you have chosen to play this work. That's the most important thing, right? You chose it for a reason, right? So I leave you with that today. Go to your music and really make sure that you are carrying out everything and thinking about, if necessary, well, how am I getting to that point? How am I going to deliver this? How am I going to make this come to life? How am I going to make this particular measure speak to somebody who's never heard this, who doesn't know this composer, who maybe doesn't even listen to like classical music or whatever kind of music you're performing very often? And, how am I going to communicate that message? So take that on board. And you know what? In the comments, let me know some ways that you combat performance nerves. Or if you try this, let me know what you think. As I said at the beginning, this was probably the single-handedly most powerful tip that I employed to bring myself from a very nervous performer as a young teenager to a very confident player as an adult. And so I pass this on to all my students, and I'm sharing it with you today. So good luck, keep practicing, keep working hard, and I'll see you in the next video.